Welcome to the Whiskey and Wisdom Podcast, coming to you from the Cargo District Recording Studios in Wilmington, North Carolina, where we discuss the most fascinating topics of life. I'm Tyler Yaw with my co-host, Chris Kellum, and each week we interview a special guest to learn how they acquired their wisdom over a glass of whiskey. So, sit back, pour yourself a glass, and enjoy Whiskey and Wisdom.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Whiskey and Wisdom Podcast. This week, as per usual, you have constant co-hosts Chris Kellum and
Tyler Yaw.
This week, we bring on somebody whom, unfortunately, we haven't met in person, but we have met virtually. Introduce.
Hello, I am D, or BBXH. That's my gamer tag, and most people know me by that versus D, but that's me.
So where did the gamer tag come from? We'll jump right into the question.
Okay, so that I wish I had a better story, and people always say it's a good story, but for me, I feel like, I don't know. So when I started streaming, I wasn't sure if I would actually be streaming more.
Okay.
I figured I'm just going to give this a go. So I just was kind of in the mood of whatever, I'll just do this. So I blame my husband, Josh. So he used to run Minecraft servers called XH Craft, and his gamer tag was someone XH. Kind of trolly. So then it would be like, someone just shot you.
Right.
So, and we call it, like pet names you call friends or whatnot, you call each other BB. So I said, I'll just be BBXH, just fully thinking it wouldn't, last. And here it is 7 years later. I'm still BBXH.
That is a pretty cool story, though. So
Oh, good.
Yeah,
I feel
like that.
I wish it were something like more tied in. I guess it is tied into me, but with history behind it.
Yes. All right. So, because this is Whiskey and Wisdom, we convinced you to try some whiskey. What are you drinking on?
Okay. So, this is called Johnny Walker Platinum Label for all the whiskey people out there. I keep it fancy.
That is a real fancy.
Right.
I've still not had that one.
Coming hard.
I drink tequila, so it was in my cabinet. But I wanted to drink whiskey today. And then I got my whiskey glass here.
You came prepared. I appreciate it. Cheers.
There you go.
Cheers, guys.
Hit
Okay.
ya. So what's the tequila choice for you then?
Okay, so not to be I don't know, cliche, but I love Casamigos Reposado. I know that's like the George Clooney one, but it's actually really good tequila. So it's, I guess, compared to others, it's a little pricier. So that's my choice if I'm going quality. And then for maybe on the more casual side, I love one called Corazon, which of course means heart in Spanish. And that one, for a not very expensive one, it's really tasty. So those are my two favorites.
Awesome. Good to know. I am not as much of a tequila drinker, but I am trying my best to get into it because there's quite a few people out there that have been telling me I'm missing out. So
I know. That's how I feel with whiskey. Everyone's like, oh, you don't like whiskey? Or it's not that I don't like it, I guess. I don't know. I'm a newbie to it.
Right. Got to build a palate.
That's right.
I tend to drink mezcal.
Oh, sorry. I am not a smoky flavor person.
But we drink whiskey, so mezcal is a good.
Yeah.
It's the next closest thing.
True.
Yes.
Okay, that makes complete sense.
Yeah, and as long as you didn't say Clase Azul was your tequila preference, I'm totally okay with it. Because if you had said that, I'd be like, well, ma'am, you are doing really, really well in your streaming.
Yeah.
All right, so you've been streaming for 7 years.
Yeah.
So how'd that get started?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just told
Chris. Once again, my dang husband. Now I know better. Now I'm like, now I realize he gets ideas and he's like, let's do this. But I didn't know that back then. So I was working I'm from the Washington, D.C. area. So if anybody's from this area, you're most likely working for the government or you're a government contractor, which I was a government contractor. And just, typical 9-to-5 job. I did purchasing and so I also, ever since college and even through working at that government job, I worked at a company called Barbizon, which is a modeling and acting school. I went there when I was in high school and did I mean, you can learn all kinds of things there.
Yeah.
They teach you how to walk on a runway, how to do your makeup, about self-confidence, public speaking. And I learned a lot there. And then I started working there as a teacher. And so that kind of gave me that background in the entertainment and media world. And I also was a gamer my whole life. I've got an older brother, and he and I grew up playing games. Our first console was a Sega Genesis, and then we played PlayStation games when we eventually got a computer. I especially loved playing. We had a Mac first, so I played on Mac and then PC. So I had that kind of the background of the two. And my husband and I were watching a streamer play Clash Royale because Clash Royale had just come out in 2016, and we wanted to get better at Clash Royale. So as we're watching, he was like, "I feel like you could do this." So then I'm like, "Okay." And he does IT for the government. So he's like, "I will buy the camera, the microphone. I will set everything up. I will figure out OBS," which he did. And he's like, "You just sit down and do the on-camera stuff." So I said, "Okay." And it started as a hobby and went from there.
Nice. So, because I remember when Clash Royale came out.
Yeah.
How do you stream that? Like I remember when they had tournaments, like I used to follow, like 100 Thieves used to post up people. And I'm like, how are you recording simultaneously your phone as well as like your face or your chit-chatting?
Yeah.
Is that all through OBS?
Yes, but it's so much easier to do that now because you can just use a capture card. But back then in 2016, it really took some figuring out. And we went through, there was different apps that we could use. And you could just plug your tablet or your phone into the computer. And there's like BlueStacks. So we used that. And that's an emulator. Some games even ban that. But this game, it doesn't give you any kind of advantage in Clash Royale. But we used BlueStacks for a while where you can mirror your tablet. And then there's a different, and then there was one, I can't remember what it's called, but it was straightforward for Apple. I don't have any Apple products. So I had to find one that was, and we went through a few. But yeah, just plugging the tablet in was what we did back then.
See, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
You're finding ways to get around it. So which leads me to, did you call each other BB? And my brain automatically was like, was it from is it just like a pet name, or was it because of where you had worked?
No, it's just like a pet name.
Okay.
Like just for like, and we don't even call each other that anymore, but we used to. So, because now it's like, I feel like somebody's calling my name, which I know it ends up being, now I never thought about it, but it makes it maybe awkward because some people want to abbreviate your gamer tag, but they don't want to call me BB. I guess like out of a respect. And I'm like, you could just call me D, I guess.
I mean, yours is way easier to pronounce than mine. So,
yeah.
What's yours?
Mine's, oh no, it's actually Snowy. It's Snowy Turtle.
Oh,
Snowy Turtle. It was Snow Turtle. I was really bored and I was like putting things together and I was like, yeah, no one can pronounce this. So it's good I don't stream anymore.
Be a good conversation starter, I guess, for your community.
So does your husband stream with you as well now too, or is he doing the backside?
He does now. He did not before, but he does. He started on Twitch and now he's streaming on Kick.
Okay.
And he plays, I mean, he started with Sea of Thieves because that's what I play. And then now he played a lot of Escape from Tarkov, and now he's on Dark and Darker.
Okay.
Ooh, I haven't played Dark.
I haven't played it yet.
So I've seen a lot about Sea of Thieves.
Yes.
How do you like it?
I love it. I've played it now since the game was in beta back in 2018. And
Sheesh.
yeah, and I eventually turned it into my main game after Clash Royale kind of fizzled out for me. I tried so many other games in between, but eventually landed on Sea of Thieves. And I like it a lot because you can kind of play the game differently depending on how you feel that day. Like if you're feeling like you want to be really sweaty and you want to PvP with other people, you can do that. If you want to do puzzles, they have these kind of puzzle story quests that you can do, or you can go fishing. You can play however you feel that day, which I feel like in longevity of streaming a game, that's so helpful.
It really is. It makes sense too, because I know a lot of people who played like World of Warcraft and League of Legends, and I'm like, yeah, I've seen some people who are like, all right, so today we're just doing a fishing stream. And I'm like, really? Are you just going to find as many fish as possible? I know how long that takes.
people do that. And it's hard. I feel like League or games like that, or even Clash Royale was like that, where you're going into a match, you finish the match, come out, rinse and repeat, is so repetitive to do on stream. Oh, so I liked it. Sea of Thieves is not like that because you can just go around and sail, adventure, and then you're not in a match per se.
It's impressive you've been able to stay with one game for so long though, because like I'm more of that like COD type of guy. So like to go in and out, because like all of like the cheaters and stuff that come across, and so like you're in COD and then you're out of COD, and then maybe you're in Apex, and then maybe you go to Counter-Strike, and then maybe you go over to like League for a little bit because you just decided to get a little antsy, and then you come back to COD when they come out with a new version of it, and supposedly they got rid of some of the cheaters. So being able to stay with something for so long, for 5 years in that world is very impressive.
Yeah, thank you. It's kind of challenging. Like I think a lot of Sea of Thieves streamers right now are at a point where they need more content, but they did just release a season 10 video today with some brand new stuff, which I know we're all like, yes, thank you. Because I mean, no matter what, you still get like burnt out from it, but it's that weird feeling as a streamer where you're like, do I play what my core game is, or do I go and do variety? And you can choose whatever you want to do, but it's just, things, it might not be the same viewership if you switch games, which I went through, and it's hard because you got to do what you want to do some days.
Yep.
So question, you've switched over to Kick now, correct?
Not me, but I have thought about it, but my husband did, but I have not made that jump yet, but I have a Kick channel.
So where are you streaming now?
Twitch.
Okay.
Yeah, just on Twitch.
Do you like it over at Twitch?
I do. I think it's hard, though. And it's really hard for new streamers because discoverability on that app is just really challenging. Because the way it's laid out is most people go into Twitch with a game in mind that they want to watch, right? Like Call of Duty or League of Legends. So you go into that category and it's typically organized by who has the most viewers to who has the least amount of viewers. In a game, for example, like League of Legends, if you're a brand new streamer and that's a saturated market with streamers, you're like all the way on page who knows what of the directory. So it's really hard to get discovered on Twitch. So I feel like you really have to have other avenues of bringing people to your channel, whether it's YouTube or TikTok, whatever it is. And let's see, TikTok is different because you open that app and you see all kinds of different people, all kinds of different content that gets shown to you, and it might be somebody brand new. So Twitch doesn't work like that. So I think it can be really challenging to grow sometimes. Yeah.
So what really got you into, like, I know you talked about a little bit before that your husband's like, hey, you should really try this to be good for you. But what really got you into gaming in the first place?
Oh, man. I think my parents buying us a Sega Genesis, and my brother is definitely a gamer. And so he and I would both that was our hobby as we were kids.
Yeah.
Playing like, what's the guy? Sonic the Hedgehog. We played that. And then different games on PlayStation. I remember playing or watching him, for example, play Resident Evil, and he would print out the instruction page or the clue page, and if he got stuck, he'd be like, read me the next clue. So I'd be like, okay, you're going to do this, which back then I'm like, this is so boring. Who would want to watch somebody play video games? And now I'm like, oh, wow, and this is what I do now. Full circle. So yeah, and then we got a computer, and I started playing games like SimCity and just other little kid games, also like some Snoopy game. And I just got roped in. I started playing Diablo. I started playing EverQuest. And so luckily in the summertime, our parents would let us stay up and play. So he'd be on the consoles and I'd be on the computer, just staying up in the summers playing. So that's how it all started, I guess. And just finding more and more games I enjoyed.
So how'd that conversation go for like your friends and family where you're like, oh yeah, I'm a government contractor and now I'm going to start gaming?
They're like, wait, what? You tell people I'm a Twitch streamer, especially back in 2016, people are like, what is that? Some people are like, is this like, they're picturing like a cam girl thing? And I'm like, no,
not
like,
that.
I am playing video games. And they're like, people watch you. And the first question, people are always like, you get paid to play video games? And you're like, oh, not really. Kind of. but it's like content creation. But I feel like now content creation of all different kinds is so common and people understand it now. Whereas back then people were like, what? Like, I don't understand this. So now I'm like, let me just show you what I do. And I'll just pull up a clip of either hosting that I've done and or like a day-to-day Twitch stream. I'll be like, here, let me show you today's Twitch stream. And then they understand. They're like, okay, so you have a camera on you and on the game and you have a chat. And then they understand then after they see it.
So with the hosting that you do, how'd you get into hosting?
So that all started because, like you talked about with the tournaments in Clash Royale, I started to host those tournaments on my Twitch stream. And then somebody was in my Twitch stream that had the finances to fund these tournaments. And he was trying to grow an esports team, but he didn't have the means to get people in these tournaments. So back in the day, Clash Royale used to have these in-game tournaments. It would host 1,000 players with huge rewards, but it cost about, if I remember correctly, like $700 to start one tournament. So nobody was starting these tournaments. I mean, it's mainly kids playing this. So this guy had the budget to host the tournaments, and then he would say, okay, you host on your Twitch channel, so that way you get people into the tournament. And it would instantly fill with 1,000 players as soon as you released a password. And as soon as it got released, it would be instantly filled because of the rewards. So that drove so many people to my Twitch channel because they wanted to all compete. And so this business guy and I just got in this routine of he would fund the tournaments and I would host them, and then I would not play because I didn't want to take one of the slots and I could not compete against these. I mean, these are really good people that are entering. So I was like, I'll just commentate on the game like sports. And so I started doing that. And then this other company, Mo Esports, they were doing the Northern Arena tournaments, and they did CSGO, they did Hearthstone, and up in Canada, and they were doing Clash Royale, and somebody threw my name out there and for a host. So they brought me up to Toronto, and it was, one of these, it was like kind of starting out tournaments, but I did the live hosting, casting, me and another guy. And then they had another one. And then the game creator Supercell, they started doing these events, and they already had seen me do this at these professional esports events. So they called me up, and then when they started doing, they call it CCGS, these tournament series. So I went out to LA, and I'd be out in LA for weeks at a time filming the series with them. And I loved it. And it's just one of those things, you get on the roster as a caster or a host for a certain game, and you just get called back over and over, and it's wonderful, and I love it. And then I've done some with Sea of Thieves. It's not as much an esports game, but I have the opportunities they have had. I've done a lot for them as well.
Nice. Yeah. So I know the difference, but what's the difference between a caster and a host when it comes to these games?
A lot of people I find, don't know what a caster is. But so for anybody that doesn't know, a host is somebody, you don't really need to know the game per se. You're kind of driving the show. You're saying, welcome everybody to such and such tournament. These are our players today. And you're kind of driving it. And then you're throwing to the casters. So you're just kind of running the event, running the flow of the event as a host. But as a caster, it's the same thing as a sports commentator, but it's for esports. And so you're just same thing like a sports commentator does. Or like football, let's say, you're calling what's going on in the game, and usually have somebody who does that kind of commentary. And so I've done it solo before, but usually you have two. One person comments on what is happening right here, right now. And then you have also somebody who is teaching you about the game, about the history of the game, about the history of the players. So they're throwing in that information as well.
Your play-by-play and your color caster.
Yeah. Exactly.
Sorry, I watch way too much League. My wife has finally started watching some with me, and it's hilarious. Yeah.
It sounds like a foreign language, League, all like jungler and midland. You're like, what are you talking about?
When it's bad too, because I'll play it on like the big TV downstairs, and I'm like pointing at the screen, like, all right, so this guy's buying this to do that. Yeah. She's like, I can't. Like
you understand. You're like, this is cool. I have somebody to root for, and you understand what's happening. It's more fun.
So, outside of, working and casting, because I guess streaming is work, pretty much.
Yes.
Before you know. So do you play any games outside of like Sea of Thieves now?
Well, so right now there is a game that I'm forcing myself not to play it off the stream. It's called Palia. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's only out for a month and still in beta, but it's kind of like a cozy game, kind of like Animal Crossing, but it's also an MMO, so you can kind of play with other people as well. I'm so enjoying playing that. I've been playing it a ton, but I've been forcing myself not to play it so that I can still enjoy playing and it doesn't feel like work on stream. But what I refuse to stream and I love to obsessively play off stream right now is Marvel Snap. So have you guys played this?
Not yet. I saw somebody on the airplane playing it.
Oh,
and I was like,
so good.
I haven't heard of this.
So if you've played Hearthstone, it's the same game developers, and it's kind of like a fast-paced express version of Hearthstone with Marvel characters. And I love it. It's so fun. I did an event for it back in February and got hooked. And it's like my game that I'm like, I will maybe stream this once in a blue moon, but I'm like, I just want to enjoy it, you know?
That is so funny.
So one of our mutual friends, Grace from Sway Creative, she was saying that you have some activities outside of streaming and gaming that you've been focusing on lately. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, of course. So outside of gaming, I'm very much so into fitness. It's my hobby, and I like to do all kinds of active things, playing soccer. I like snowboarding and rock climbing, whatever it is. I'm just now getting into golf, but I also am into bodybuilding. And I do the bikini bodybuilding category, which because for women, that's probably the least muscular, for a simple way to say it, category of them all. I think sometimes when you say bodybuilding, people picture like the big bodybuilders out there. So I don't do that, but it's been something I've been doing since 2019, and it's hard. It takes a long time to really put on muscle naturally, and I'm doing it all natural. But so I just competed in a show at the beginning of September and then one at the end of August. So I'd started prepping. Wow. They call it prepping for that. It's like leaning. You have to cut down, obviously, so you can see all the muscle since April. So that's what I've been working on. Now I'm finally like in relax season.
I'm sure that's a lot to kind of balance streaming and work and everything all together with cutting and everything as well, because I know how strict it is when it comes to calories and drinking and everything like that too, on top of just like being able to focus on what you do every day.
Big time. And I mean, it's especially when it gets down to the wire, probably like the last 4 weeks or so, I feel like it's hard to balance everything because it's getting up. I usually get up at 5:30. I go do my lift for the day, and I have a coach, and he gives me all my lifting schedule. He gives me my macros that I eat, and I usually just make my own meal plans. And it is hard to be strict. But one beauty about streaming is it's easy to meal prep for streaming. It really makes sense to meal prep whether you're into fitness or not for streaming, because then you can just quickly like go grab your food and then come for it. So it kind of fits into the lifestyle as well. And I mean, the beauty about being a content creator is you have full autonomy of your schedule. So you really can adjust it on the fly as you need to. If you're like, oh my gosh, I am not feeling it today, I'm going to sign off. You have, the ability to do that, which is a great thing. And it makes it possible to do. But it's hard. You have to like get up, do the lift, do my stream, get off, and then I gotta go do like 45 minutes of cardio, and then you're tired. But I still this is no complaint because I signed up for it and I just love it. I think it's a project you can work on every day.
So one of the main questions I get all the time doing what we do here is like, who are you having on the podcast next? And so I was telling people that you were going to be on the podcast next. And so the question that everyone has asked me, so now I have to ask you, is how does a streamer get into the bodybuilding and fitness world? And how did that kind of love come to be?
Wow, I guess there were for me, it was two separate worlds. So a job that I had when I guess I was in college, I worked at a gym, and there was a woman that worked there that was a bodybuilder. And so I got to watch her do all her prep, and she was also a fitness instructor for the classes. So I'd watch her do the classes, do her own cardio, do her own lifts, and then I'd watch her weigh out her meals. And I just thought the discipline of it was all so cool. So it was something that I had thought about for years before I ever even started it. And I've always been into fitness, and I find it's a good way to make friends as well, because in the DC area, it is so transient. People come and go all the time. They are moving in for a contract and then they're gone and they move elsewhere. So I find either at the gym or like I played in just an adult soccer league, you can just make friends through that as well. So I think that was a big part of it for me, to connect with people.
So you're still in the DC area then?
Yep. I am one of the few like born and raised here.
I'll say I almost never hear of that. It's usually people like exactly what you said. They come in for a couple years, grab a contract, or they're there for a senator or whatever the case may be, and they're a part of their team for a little bit and then off to the next place. So
I know. It's a sad thing.
So, because I always go off the rail when it comes to random stuff. Living in the DC area, do you watch any of the DC sports?
A little bit. I mean, the Commanders are, not. We'll see how they do this season.
Right.
I guess they won their first game.
Yes.
But, so I don't know. I love fantasy football. I'm not super into the NFL and watching it, but I love fantasy football. So I do that. And we've been to some DC United games.
Okay.
And I've been to some more, I would say in my life, I've been to more Baltimore Orioles games, games, than I have Nats games.
Go O's.
So, I mean, that's nice. You have all these and the Ravens are closest by, so we adopt them for our team. But I would not say I watch any of them regularly.
Yeah, we'll have to get you on. We'll have to make a fantasy football league for the podcast next year.
That'd be good, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I love fantasy football.
I always think about it. I'm like, man, I need to like get in a league, and then I look and I'm like, oh wait, the season started last week.
I know. That's so true. I'm in 2 leagues this season. Both were like, oh gosh, we need to draft. Like drafting the night before.
That's what we did too. So actually the league that I'm in this year is the first time I've only been in one league, is all of the guys I played COD with. So it's fun having that kind of like camaraderie there.
Yes.
Yeah. He still didn't invite me.
Well,
wow.
I didn't make the team, so sorry.
Oh, rude.
It's all good. I'm just here to cause mayhem.
Oh, good.
So now that you're done with competition, for 2 questions. 1, why did you choose to do back-to-back
competitions?
Yes. And then 2, what was your meal afterwards?
Okay. So I chose to do them back to back because it's so long. It takes me I try to take my time leaning out.
Yeah.
So I try to take like 20 weeks to get ready for these shows. And it's not like you dive into like low calorie and high cardio. It's so gradual down. But so it's a long time to get there. So you feel like, dang, if I'm like this stage lean, I'm going to make it count. Which, side note, by the way, I unexpectedly with these, I also did those. And then last weekend I did a Spartan 10K. And I've never done a 10K in my life. I love sports and fitness, but I am not a runner. But it was fun. And because I had been prepping for these shows, I felt very prepared for it. So I felt like, okay, that's like 3 events that I got myself ready for in these weeks. And one was just unexpected. But I will say last year I did 4 shows and they kind of got spread out. Yeah. And it was just too much for me. And that was a hard lesson I learned last year, to not spread them out that far. Because the first one was in April and the last one was in June. So it was like 2 months of being that lean. And it was really difficult. And I will not do it again. And my last show, I did terrible anyways, because when you stay that lean, you slowly but surely are losing that muscle mass. So it was hard to do. But this year I was like, I'm going to try to do 2 shows very close together, which I did. And I think I will continue to do that. The first few years I did 1 show and you feel like, oh, that's it? Like after all that? Okay, just one time and then you're done. But okay, so then my meal after. So let's see. So I'm really big into desserts and I love sweets. And so I buy one of those big cookies.
Oh, yeah.
They're like crazy big cookies.
Yeah.
So I bought a pack of those from a woman. I just had found her on Instagram. Her company is called Fat Ash Bakes, and she's out of Orlando. So I ordered hers, and they were so good. And then another company for the second show I did out of Orlando, hers were called Choco Loco cookies, and those were like humongous and so good. So we went and got that, and I don't even, what did we get for, we got sushi.
Ooh, that sounds
I
good.
love good sushi.
Yeah.
I love sushi, but yeah, my biggest focus was on the cookie.
There's a lady in the building that our studio's in, and she does marshmallows. And they're all like different flavors.
Yes.
We'll find it and we'll post that in the show notes,
Send
and
that to
we'll
me.
try and figure that out for you. Because I
I've seen
walked
people on
past it.
TikTok. Yes.
I was like, oh, these are, and they're
bet it
not like the
smells
baby
good.
little. They're the size of like the
Mhm.
jumbo,
Mhm.
and they look actually delicious, unlike the fake ones you get from, like that we're all used to.
Yeah, the little, I don't know the brand. But yeah,
No.
like for s'mores. But I love
Yes.
s'mores.
Right. Yeah.
I do have a real question though.
Okay.
Where'd you finish? I was gonna ask that, and then I forgot about it. I thought about food first. How'd you finish in your comps?
So the first one, so I do two categories. So in the organization I do, which is OCB, which is tested to make sure that you are a natural athlete.
Oh, okay.
You can do debut, and this goes for the men's categories. Women's debut means it's your first ever competition, so you can only do that once. Then there's novice, which means you have never won your class before, your group.
Mm.
So I did that one. I've not won a class before. I got second place last year.
Oh,
So
wow.
close. And then you can do open, which is anybody and everybody can do open. That's the category that counts because that's the only category that you can go pro in. So I did both of those. So the first competition, I got second place in one and third in the
wow.
other.
Mm.
And then the second competition I did, I got third place in one and I didn't place in the other. So,
Oh.
it was still fun though. We went down to Virginia Beach and went to the beach after. So it was a good way to end the season regardless of that.
Yeah. Still a win there.
Yeah, I was like, I'll take it. And I know what I have to work on. I know it's just still like growing more muscle. So that's what I'm doing now, or slowly getting there.
Bulking season.
That's right, Vulcan season.
So did you?
Whiskey.
Right. So when you got on stage for the second one, did you feel pretty confident on there? Like, did you feel like, at least for yourself, looking at like past the other ones you've done before, like, did you get on stage and feel good for yourself, or were you like, yeah, you know what, I am burnt?
No, I think I felt good about it because they say that you should always view it, and I try to, that you're always competing against your previous package. And I got a new coach this season, and he's somebody, the coaches I had before were good, but I think I outgrew them. And they were also, she lived in Florida. So I live in DC. So it's all online, which is common, but I wanted to see somebody in person. So I started working with a guy that he's well known in the DC area, and he coaches a friend of mine, and I go and I visit him in person so he can see, my lifting techniques and all of that. And I just feel like I had grew so much with him, and I didn't even do a full year with him yet. So I'm excited to do like a growing season with him, because I feel like no matter what, this was still a better package than I brought last year. So it felt like a win for me. And I have felt like last year, that last show I did, because I was so lean, that was time where I was like, I don't think this is it for me.
Yeah.
And it was not it. But you never know. That category is so subjective. So
True.
it really depends like who you're standing next to on the stage. You don't want to be the most shredded, but you don't want to be the softest out there. You want to be the person in the middle. And it really depends who shows up. It just does. It's weird, but it, part of the fun, I guess.
So do you find that being like a good way to kind of de-stress from the day-to-day? Is that kind of like a balance between like, all right, at least I'm not doing this all the time, and I'm not doing this all the time. It kind of separates the lives.
Big time. I think it is. And like when I go to the gym in the morning, that's my me time, because when you're streaming, you're interacting with people the whole time. You're having all of these mini conversations throughout the day. And so that's like my time. I'm the person that's like got my headphones on. Not because I don't want people to talk to me per se, but I just want to like listen to a podcast, or I want to listen to music. And that's like my me time. And so I do feel like it does offer a lot of balance for me and for my life. And it is like physical balance as well. I mean, this is like a lot of our jobs now. It's so sedentary. Like I'm sitting in this chair for the whole time I'm streaming. So that forces me to get up and do cardio. And it makes me feel like I don't have a choice. I have to do this cardio. So it forces me to do it in a good way.
Because I always jumping back and forth with serious and then not serious questions. How'd you pick your colors for your stream?
Oh,
because you're rocking like purple and blue.
Oh yeah, those it just kind of okay. So my streaming room used to be upstairs. It gets so hot in the summer.
Oh yeah.
So we're in the basement now, and then I just moved this shelf down here, and I don't know where the light changing remote is. So it's purple. But then the blue, I just figured those would go together. But I honestly, my favorite color is red. And it's a chair, and I've got the little word here. So most things I go with red, but I try not to do everything in red. But lately I love purple, or I love light pink. I just bought one. I gave in and bought one of these.
Oh, the
Stanley-esque.
Oh, the Stanley. Yeah.
yes.
I just gave in and bought one. But it's so convenient. It goes in the cup holder. And I got the pink, so.
Convenient.
I haven't
Just
seen
to
a
keep it
red
colorful.
one.
I
That
know.
makes
I didn't
sense.
see
That's
a red
true.
one, so I think I don't know. I probably would have bought the red one.
So, on a serious note, with
Jumping back again.
Yes.
Sorry,
yes.
that's the joys of drinking and just me
Yeah,
being
of
me
course.
on both aspects of your day to day and streaming and things. What would you consider success for you, like in the streaming world as well as in competitions?
Well, the first thing I think of with success, I think it's all something that is in the value of the beholder,
Mhm.
because everybody, it's goal dependent, in my opinion. Like, I think your success depends on what your goal is, whether that is to be wealthy or to be famous or to win, whatever it is. I think it depends on what the person's goal is. So for me, I think when the first thing you said that I think of is doing the hosting things, because I like streaming, but man, if I could do the hosting gigs every day, every week, that would feel like success for me. I just enjoy it so much. I'm so proud of the hosting work that I've done, and some of the ones I look back and I'm like, that was a success to me. That, like, doing this particular event of stage hosting or with a particular game companies or in studios, that stuff I just think is so fun. And I'm so proud of it. And those were my goals. So that felt like success for me. And then as far as the bodybuilding shows, I think I can't help but to say that success would be winning, because that is my goal. And I always try to beat my previous package. So I think that's a mini success, but ultimate success will be winning the overall, which means getting your pro card. And then, there's progression from there, winning a pro show. So I think, and I haven't got it yet, but it gives me something to continuously work on.
That's awesome. I love that. So with the community that you built streaming anyway, what would be 3 tips for someone that is in the same type of boat when you were starting? Like, what would be 3 tips to growing the community that you have on Twitch?
Okay, so first and foremost, I think you really have to get involved in whichever way that you're comfortable with, because again, it's really hard to grow on Twitch and get your name out there, and it's really hard to just kind of turn on the camera and wait for people to show up. And more often than not, that doesn't happen. So I think the biggest thing is just to genuinely, and don't even say like networking, like just make friends with people that are playing the same game as you. And the beauty of video games is it's typically something you can do with other people, and you can easily collaborate with other people in. And the beauty of Twitch also is that you can create true friendships with people. You can go into somebody's chat and interact with them live. It's so different from other social media. So you can build a bond organically with a person and say, hey, do you want to play this game together? And they may already have somewhat of an established community. So then you go from there, or joining tournaments, or I don't know, doing the tutorial videos on TikTok or YouTube and putting other content out there for the community, or just getting to know people, I think, or being part of Discord channels and being active in those Discords or Reddit forums. Just being active and getting your name out there is, I feel like, a really good way to grow. And kind of piggybacking off that for number 2 is to be involved just genuinely in other people's streams. And I feel like one of the biggest no-nos that people don't know in the beginning is to don't even tell people you're a streamer when you're going into somebody else's stream. Like, just go in there and like get to know people.
Mhm.
I've had people I had a girl, for example, that was a moderator on my Twitch channel, and she'd been coming to my Twitch channel for 3 years. And then, so she was a good friend of mine, and she said, I think I'm going to try to start streaming. But she had already just organically built a friendship with so many of us, myself as a streamer and community members, that everyone was like, yes, girl, okay, start streaming. I will support you. So she was already starting out with this community that supported her because she had put in just the time to make genuine friendships. And the next thing is, I feel like you just gotta, so many people are so afraid to just start. And they see people, like we were talking about the camera and like the microphone. And I didn't have all this stuff when I started. I had like a webcam and like some headset mic. And I feel like it's not going to be perfect when you start. And you grow and you learn. And it's hard for a lot of people to do that because they see their idols or the people they look up to, it's a certain way, and they feel like I have to do it this way. But part of being a new streamer is being diverse and being unique and trying different things. So I feel like that is a good way to start. And some people, it's more relatable when you're starting out, and you'll eventually grow to investing in a new mic or learning how to do your own graphics or whatever it may be that they view as a good point. So I think just getting started, and don't feel like everything has to be as you see these other streamers that have been doing it for a while.
So talking about how other people have gotten started or can get started, if you were to tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
I think maybe to set better boundaries with people. Okay. I think I went in, like, I was like, you know what? I didn't watch Twitch. So I think that helped me in the sense that I'm like, I don't know. Like, I didn't have any expectations of having a certain viewership or whatever. I was just kind of like, okay, like, and I think that helped me, but that it's different from real life. When you're live, people, when they're on your stream or they're in your game and they realize you're streaming, whether you have 1 viewer or 1,000 viewers, they sometimes act differently. And being a nice person, sometimes they'll see how far they can push to get away with things. And especially people that donate. I mean, that's the nature of Twitch, is that your income is people tip you if they like your stream. And so there's, I ran into that in the beginning where people, and nothing weird. People were probably like, oh man, like what happened? But nothing weird. But just as an example, like I had somebody who donated quite a bit of money, and they felt like it gave them entitlement to just join my game whenever they wanted. And it really irked me. But I felt like, oh my gosh, I can't say anything because this person is being very generous to me. So I have to play with them. And I look back and I'm like, girl, no, like you don't. Like there's nothing in there that says that you have to do that. So I had to learn to set those boundaries, and I had to learn to be more assertive with people and speak my mind in that way, and in a nice way still. But I would go back and tell myself to not be afraid to do that.
That's a great one.
I love it. So, because you are on social media, content creator, where do people find you?
Well,
to keep up with all the stuff.
Always Twitch, Monday through Friday. I'm always on there in the morning for us Eastern time zone people. Right. But I also post on Instagram and TikTok, BB_XH. And then sometimes on YouTube, which is just BBXH, and then Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it now.
It's Twitter. I don't care.
Yeah,
it's Twitter. I'm not going to say. You can find me on X, on Twitter, BBXH_Twitch.
Sweet.
Yeah. Mostly on Instagram, I would say, and TikTok.
Perfect. Same with us, too.
Yeah, they're just where it's at for me. Yes. I never know what to write on Twitter.
I know. Same. It's like, it's not worth it.
Twitter, Threads. I'm like,
we have Threads.
Do you really want to know what I'm thinking today? No.
Right.
I think some weird stuff. Not bad, just like random. Just like my questions here.
Maybe you should post them.
I was going to say, that actually might be a good one to follow.
So I just want to say thank you so much. It was actually a blast. Sorry, I know you're a busy woman who needs to probably go get her cardio in.
Not anymore. Please, no.
It's like no cardio till the new year.
No, not till next year.
Right. Oh,
But I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me on. This was so fun to chat with you two.
Yeah, thanks. You too. Thanks for taking some time out of your day and getting on and talking to us. And I'm sure we'll have another one soon.
Yeah, it would be great.
Yeah, I'll come find you on Twitch.
Okay.
Right.
Just let me know it's you.
Oh, next time I prime.
Or it's Snow Turtle.
Yes.
Snurtle.
It's spelled weird because you know how the internet works. But yeah, I'll show up.
All right. Well, then I'll know it's you. Follow for Snow Turtle.
Thank you guys for listening so much to this conversation. It's been all over the place. But like she said, we're on all the social medias, Instagram, Threads, technically, TikTok. We post everything, all the pretty social medias you see, all the videos. It is sponsored by Sway Creations because, trust me, we don't know how to video edit anything.
No, and don't have the time to do it even if we did. So,
no.
So check them out also if you need help growing your social media. But like, comment, share, subscribe. Check us out on all the social medias and all of the podcast apps. And check out BBXH on Twitch.
All right. We'll see you all soon. Thank you so much.
Yep. Cheers.
Cheers.